Welcome to Betrayal Affairs. In today's video, we're diving into a story that begins with nerves, expectations, and the crushing weight of trying to fit into a world where you were never meant to belong. My name is Mark, and if you'd asked me a few years ago, I would have told you that meeting a girlfriend's parents was supposed to be intimidating but manageable. Maybe you'd wear your best shirt, shake hands firmly, answer a few questions, and be on your way. But Sophia's parents weren't just any parents. They were the Prescotts, a family name that carried weight in our city, synonymous with money, power, and a level of status that someone like me could only ever view from the outside. Sophia had warned me, gently at first, then more urgently as the day grew closer. Her parents were wealthy, proud, and more concerned with appearances than with people. I could hear the worry in her voice every time we talked about them, like she was bracing herself for the collision between the world she grew up in and the life she had chosen with me. I'm a mechanic. That's the plain truth. I've got grease permanently etched into my knuckles even when I scrub my hands raw. I own a small garage that I built from the ground up. I don't have a fancy office or expensive suits, but I do have pride. Pride in the fact that I can bring life back to machines most people would give up on. Still, pride doesn't mean much when you're driving up to a mansion where the people waiting inside see calluses as a sign of failure. That day, the plan was simple. Show up on time, look as polished as possible, and follow Sophia's careful script. On the phone earlier, she had whispered instructions like she was coaching me for a role in a play. If my father asks about work, don't say mechanic, say specialized automotive management. And if my mother asks about your hands, say woodworking. Whatever you do, Mark, please don't mention oil or transmission fluid. I tried to laugh it off. Suff, I am a mechanic. That's not a crime. But I could hear her heartache through the phone. I know. And I love that about you. But they won't. Just for me, please. So I agreed. For her, I'd play along. For a night, I'd tuck away the part of me I was proudest of and try to be the man her parents expected. I had dressed in my only suit, clean, though a little snug in the shoulders from years of working with tools. My old pickup, which I had restored myself, gleamed in the fading afternoon light. I told myself it looked good enough, even parked among rows of European sedans I imagined would be waiting at the Prescott estate. The drive started smooth. The city's grit gave way to suburbs, which then melted into open fields and rolling hills. Every mile pulled me further from my world and deeper into theirs. The air seemed clearer, the roads emptier, the houses bigger. I checked the time. Good. If I kept pace, I'd arrive a few minutes early. But life doesn't always care about your schedule. As I rounded a sweeping bend on that lonely country road, I saw her, a vision of old-world elegance stranded on the gravel shoulder. The car alone was enough to stop me in my tracks. A vintage Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, two-toned and magnificent, its hood propped up as smoke curled lazily into the cool evening air. Beside it stood a woman dressed in pearls and tweed, her silver hair pinned immaculately, her expression one of aristocratic frustration. A voice inside my head, Sophia's voice, told me to keep driving. You can't be late, Mark. Not tonight. But another voice, deeper and truer, spoke louder. That car was a masterpiece, and its owner was clearly helpless. To drive past would be to deny everything I was. I pulled over. She looked at me with sharp, assessing eyes as I stepped from my truck. My driver seems to have lost me. Mind if I take a look? I asked. Something flickered in her gaze. Curiosity, maybe skepticism, but she gave a slight nod. Be my guest. The moment I leaned under that hood, the world shifted. The scent of hot oil, aged metal, and history wrapped around me. I knew these machines. They spoke a language most people had forgotten, but to me it was second nature. Within moments I saw it, a frayed distributor wire, a simple fix for hands that knew what they were doing. It'll take about 20 minutes, I told her. She raised an eyebrow at my clean white shirt. It will get messy. I smiled. That's part of the job. Her lips curved into a wry grin. If you can make this beast run again, I don't care if you roll in the mud. So I worked. On the side of a lonely country road, I got my hands dirty. She didn't ask about money or status. She asked about the car. We spoke the same language, respect for craftsmanship, for beauty in motion. When the engine roared back to life under her touch, her smile was radiant. "You're a miracle worker," she said. I shrugged, wiping grease onto my rag, just happy to see her running. She drove away, leaving me with the warmth of a job well done and the icy realization that I was now an hour late, filthy, and headed straight into the lion's den. By the time I pulled into the Prescott estate, the sun had set, painting the sky in fading streaks of orange and violet. The mansion loomed ahead, every window glowing like a palace. My pickup looked pitiful among the line of gleaming German sedans. I sat for a long moment, gripping the wheel, trying uselessly to scrub grease from my fingers with a napkin. Finally, I climbed out and walked to the door. When Sophia opened it, her eyes went wide in horror. "Mark, what happened?" she whispered. Behind her, two figures appeared, her parents. Richard and Eleanor Prescott were exactly as she'd described, elegant, polished, and radiating quiet judgment. Their eyes swept over me, my stained shirt, my hands, my late arrival, and hardened with contempt. "So," Richard drawled coldly, "this is him, the mechanic." I stammered an apology. "Sir, ma'am, there was a woman stranded. Her car, punctuality," Richard cut me off, "is not optional in our world. You have failed the very first test of respect." Eleanor's lips curved in a cruel smile. "And look, he's brought his work with him." Her eyes lingered on my grease-stained hands. How rustic. The dismissal was final. They turned away, treating me not as a guest, but as an inconvenience. I felt the weight of failure crush me. Sophia's face was pale with shame and heartbreak. I turned to leave, humiliation burning through me. But then headlights swept across the lawn. The low, powerful rumble of an engine I knew intimately filled the air. The silver cloud glided into the drive, flawless and alive. Out stepped the woman I had helped. The world seemed to stop. Sophia gasped. Eleanor's icy facade cracked. Richard's jaw tightened. "Mother?" Eleanor blurted, her voice shrill with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" The woman ignored her completely. Her sharp blue eyes moved from her flustered daughter to Richard's stiff posture to Sophia's tearful confusion, finally resting on me. "This young man whom you were about to cast aside just spent an hour repairing my car on the roadside. He is the reason I arrived safely tonight." The air shifted. The power in the room changed hands in an instant. Matilda Prescott, the formidable matriarch of the family, had chosen her side. Mine. From that moment, the evening transformed. She took my arm and led me inside, announcing to the butler that I would sit at her right hand, the seat of honor. For 90 surreal minutes, the dinner was no longer about my unworthiness, but about my worth. She asked me about engines, about craftsmanship, about the soul of machines. I spoke with passion, and she listened with genuine fascination. When Richard tried to speak of investments, she silenced him. When Eleanor bragged about imported duck, she compared it unfavorably to the satisfaction of restoring an engine. Every word from her lips was a subtle strike against them, a defense of me. By the end of the night, she offered me stewardship of her late husband's collection of classic automobiles, a treasure trove hidden in the Prescott garage, decaying for decades. My in-laws' faces were pale masks of horror, but for me it was vindication. Not because I had beaten them, but because I had been accepted for who I truly was. Months later, I walked into that garage with Sophia by my side, ready to begin a lifetime's work restoring history. I no longer had to pretend to be anyone else. I was a mechanic, and that was enough. Looking back, I realized something powerful. It wasn't charm, wealth, or pretense that won the night. It was a simple act of kindness. Stopping for a stranger, being true to myself, that was what changed everything. Because in the end, true character is worth more than all the polished appearances in the world. And as I drove a restored Jaguar through the countryside months later with my wife's hand in mine, I knew I hadn't just fixed a car that night, I'd fixed the course of my life. So, what do you think? Was Matilda right to put her own family in their place and side with me? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more powerful tales of love, justice, and character here on Betrayal Affairs.